recently attended a talk that mentioned that most people don't know the difference between a domestic cat, a Scottish wildcat, and a lynx. These are all animals that have lived in the United Kingdom at some point in time, and there's some ongoing debate right now as to which of them should still be allowed to live here. So, can you identify the different species in the photos I'm putting up on screen? Here are the answers. Did you get them right? There are actually quite a few differences between these three species, and I'm going to talk about them in this video. Let's start off with the species names. The Scottish wildcat is known as Felis sylvestris, the domestic cat is known as Felis catus, and the Eurasian lynx is Lynx lynx. The most obvious difference between the three is their appearance. Domestic cats vary wildly because we've bred them for different traits, but as a general rule they're between 46 and 51 centimetres long, with a 25 to 38 centimetre tail. Scottish wildcats are slightly larger, at 56 centimetres long, with a 29 centimetre tail. Lynxes are a lot bigger, at 70 to 130 centimetres long. Their weights match up with this as well, with our pets being around 4 kilograms, wildcats between 3 and 7 kilograms, and the lynx between 18 and 36 kilograms. In terms of markings, again the domestic cat has been bred for a huge variety of them, so for the sake of this video I'm just going to focus on the tabby cats because they're the most wild type looking. There are 5 classic shades of tabby cat coat, but generally they will all include a distinctive M-shaped marking on their forehead, a dark line around their eyes, pigment in their mouth and paws, thin pencil-like markings on their face, a paler chin and belly, and banding on the legs and tail. While the wildcat is similar to this initially, there are actually subtle differences. It has unbroken stripes down its sides, no spots on its rump, 2 stripes between its shoulders, 4 stripes on its neck, and a thick blunt tail with rings and a black tip. It's much stockier and more muscular than the domestic cat, with longer legs and a larger flat head. Its ears also stick out more to the side. There are often hybrids that make it difficult to tell the difference between these two species, but a true wildcat won't have white paws and it won't have white on its stomach, and its dorsal stripe, which goes along its back, won't extend down to its tail. If you can't already tell from the size, then the lynx also looks very distinctive from other cats. They have grey, rusty or yellow coats that come in either a spotted, striped or solid pattern. Their belly, the front of their neck, the inside of their limbs and their ears will be white, while their shorter tail will have a solid black tip. Lynx have a very distinctive face shape. They've got that flared ruff and triangular ears, and those ears have black tufts on them. Their legs are long and their paws are very large and very fluffy for walking over the snow. Domestic cats live an average of 15 years, while wildcats live an average of 8 years, and the lynx 17 years in the wild. We don't still have any lynx populations living in the UK, although if you've seen my video on lynx in the UK and their last known residents here, then you'll know we did used to have them as a native species. We do still have our native wildcats, but they're isolated to the Scottish Highlands. Meanwhile, the domestic cats have spread to basically every corner of the UK. They're an invasive species here because they didn't originally come and they cause harm to things like birds and rodents that are native here. Despite being fed a diet of cat food, domestic cats will hunt various rodents, small mammals, birds and reptiles. The Scottish wildcat, however, prefers to live on the edge of remote woodlands, usually less than 650 metres above sea level, and it has a similar diet, but it will focus more on rabbits and hares. Lynx, when they were here, lived deep in the highly covered forests, where they primarily ate roe deer, but they did supplement that diet with foxes, rabbits, hares, rodents and birds. In terms of what they're eaten by, both domestic cats and wild cats can fall victim to things like large raptors and foxes, but it is typically only their kittens that become those prey. The lynx don't have any natural predators, but when they lived here, they could have occasionally fallen victim to a wolf when the wolves were also native here. Both wildcats and lynx are considered solitary species, only really coming together during their mating season. Domestic cats, meanwhile, are a communal species that create small social alliances. This is likely because we've kept them in close quarters together for so long. The mating season is shorter in the wild species. lasting from January to March for wildcats and from February to April for the lynx. It has elongated in domestic cats, typically lasting between February and October. Gestation is similar in the three species, taking between 63 and 70 days, but the litter sizes tend to vary. Typical wildcat litters can be anywhere from 1 to 8 kittens, while the average domestic cat has about 4 kittens, and the average lynx has 2 to 3. After birth, domestic cat kittens are considered independent within 2 months, whereas wildcats take 6 months, and for the lynx it's at 10 months old. Domestic cat females can breed from 4 months of age, wildcats from a year, and lynx from 2 years old. The domestic cat males breed from anywhere from 6 to 12 months, wildcats from 9 months, and the lynx from 3 years old. In terms of their activity levels, all three species tend to exhibit a mostly crepuscular lifestyle, which means they're most active at dawn and dusk. The domestic cats tend to be more friendly and affectionate overall. The wildcats tend to be comparatively very fierce, and lynx tend to be quite secretive and elusive. Finally, I thought it was interesting to have a look at the different folklore that these species inspired, since that can very often give an insight into our relationships with animals over time. Due to being a global species, domestic cats have inspired folklore all over the world. A few that I picked out were the goddess Bastet from Egypt, which is often depicted as a cat. There's also the story of the Maneki-neko, a beckoning cat for luck and fortune in Japan. Plus, closer to home, there's the European tales of unlucky black cats that are witches' familiars. The wildcat has a little different associations. In Scotland, its hybrids were thought to inspire stories of the cat Sith, a wish-granting spectral creature. In Greek mythology, Artemis was said to have gifted wildcats with good hunting abilities. Meanwhile, the lynx are often associated with power and strength, with links to the sun god Luke in Celtic mythology. Do you think you'd be able to identify each of these animals in the wild if you saw them now? I hope you learned a little bit about each of them from this video.